Think of the last experience you had in life of not being able to see. Recently, I turned off the kitchen lights before turning on the bedroom lights, so you know where this story is going, right? I was left in the dark trying to feel my way to the next light. Have you had an experience like that of not being able to see? Maybe you're familiar with the piñata, of how it is that we put a blindfold on someone, and then that person has to try to find this piñata that they can't see. How difficult is that? Imagine for a moment what it would be like to live blind in this world. I've had a few blind friends in my life, and it's helped me to grow in compassion. How it would be to go about our daily tasks not being able to see. Today's readings have everything to do with people who can't see and with people who can see. Did we hear today's gospel? There was a man who was born blind, who couldn't see, but Jesus gave him his sight. He made him see again. The real blind people in today's gospel are the Pharisees. The Pharisees could not recognize, they couldn't see how God was working in the healing of this blind man. Jesus healed this man on the Sabbath. You can't work on the Sabbath. This man cannot be a son of God because he worked on the Sabbath. The Pharisees were blind. How blind are we sometimes? In today's first reading from the first book of Samuel, we hear that story of Samuel coming to anoint the new king. And he looked at Jesse and the 7 sons who were there, and he said, the oldest son, he must be the one who's going to be the king. He didn't see things as God sees things. He was blind. It wasn't the oldest, it wasn't the second, or the third, or the fourth, or the fifth, or the sixth, or even the 7th. He said, it's none of these. Do you have any other sons? He had another son, the youngest, David, who was out taking care of the sheep. And all of their eyes were opened when they saw that God was calling the youngest, David, to be the new king. Brothers and sisters, during this time of Lent, maybe it's time for us to take off the blindfold as well and to see. To see things the way that God sees things. To see people the way that God sees people. Or even during this Lent, to look into our own hearts and to see ourselves as God sees us. Perhaps you've heard a certain song before about a man who once was blind but now could see. The song Amazing Grace. You're familiar with that song? The song Amazing Grace was written by a slave trader named John Newton. Have you heard this story before? John Newton was involved in the slave trade, bringing our African sisters and brothers to the New World where they would be slaves. And in the middle of a storm, in the middle of the sea, his boat started turning, and he realized that if tonight he were to die, this would not be a good night to die because he would be dying in sin. Suddenly, he realized how blind he was in doing what he was doing. And when he finally took off the blindfold and realized what he was doing and saw what he was doing, he turned around his life. May this Lent be a time for all of us to take off the blindfolds we wear and to see this world and to see others and to see ourselves as God sees us. Amazing grace, seeing the world and seeing one another and seeing ourselves as God sees us.